As a former litigator, I love a good cross-examination. Having the witness live, watching a lying witness crumble under a brutal cross-exam. I used to love that as a litigator. Good thing right now the Democratic Congress members are dishing out some A+ cross-exams of Trump cabinet members and MAGA Republican witnesses. Yesterday may have been one of my favorite days yet for these Democratic cross-examinations of these MAGA Republican witnesses. Case in point, Republicans brought in a witness in the House of Representatives named Daniel Turner, who tried to explain why this budget bill was so great and why it's not disastrous. And you'll see in under 20 seconds, Democratic Congress member Robert Garcia gets the Republican witness to admit that the Republicans believe Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Garcia gets the guy to admit it right away. Watch this.
Mr. Turner, you're one of our witnesses today, an expert on economics and a bunch of other things.
Not economics.
Mr. Turner, you were invited to testify as an expert on government spending. This is your post. Is this correct? Did you post this, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you called Social Security a Ponzi scheme.
100%.
Which we know Elon Musk has also done. I'm glad you admitted it. Social Security is a government-sponsored Ponzi scheme, as you said. Now,
what about the second part, though, sir? I should be able to keep 100% of my
you can read the whole
money
thing. It's right
and
up
not
here.
watch government waste it,
you, sir.
giving
This is my
$9 billion.
Thank you, sir. My
giving
time.
$9 billion
Sir,
to climate
my
groups.
time, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you. Thank you, sir. A Ponzi scheme. And so I think it's interesting, of course, that as one of our Republican witnesses is calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, and that's a person that we should be taking advice from here today. Without Social Security, 22 million people would be pushed into poverty. That includes over 16 million seniors and nearly 1 million children. And in fact, Elon Musk has also said and agreed with you, sir, that this is a Ponzi scheme. I think it's ironic that you are one of our witnesses talking about efficiency when you want to attack the single best program that we have to support people, not just out of poverty, but across this country to uplift them to ensure they can afford a decent life. We on this committee need to work every single day, not just to protect Social Security, but to hold Republicans accountable for attacking Medicare, Medicaid, for attacking Social Security and the programs that we all depend on. With that, I yield back.
Then you have Democratic Congress member Robert Garcia turning to Marjorie Taylor Greene as she says that I'm proud to have voted for the disastrous budget bill. And Garcia goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. You just gave a whole speech on the House floor earlier today that you didn't want to vote for the bill because you didn't read the full thing and you just found out there's a provision in the budget bill that says that states can't regulate their own artificial intelligence laws within their state, that it's purely a federal government thing for the next 10 years. And you said you weren't going to vote for the bill if that provision's still in it. What do you mean you're proud to have voted for the bill? You literally said you weren't proud of it. Watch Garcia do a great job here. Play this clip.
It's also interesting because Chairwoman Greene, I understand, now regrets voting for this bill, as she mentioned yesterday. Is that correct, Chairwoman Greene?
Are you yielding me time?
No, I'm just asking if I think you say now you regret voting for the bill. Is that correct?
The bill actually destroys what you guys voted for the past 4 years. And I'm proud to have voted for that bill to fund border security,
actually,
to
Chairwoman
deport
Greene,
all these illegals you guys let in the country.
Chairwoman. Chairman, yesterday you actually said that you regret actually voting for the bill. You posted after Elon's tweet that you didn't know certain provisions were in it and that you would have voted no if you had known. And so obviously you didn't do a thorough review of the bill. And I'm not surprised, of course, that Republicans in this Congress are now going back and forth on the bill.
So the Democratic cross-examinations of these MAGA Republican Congress members got so brutal, for example, with Trump's education secretary, the billionaire WWE owner, Linda McMahon, who's somehow the education secretary, and her goal is to destroy the Department of Education. So Linda McMahon had a woman sitting next to her who had these like cards, and there were these index cards, and the person sitting next to Linda McMahon during the cross-examination would give the answers to Linda McMahon on the index cards. And here Democratic Congresswoman Hayes says, do you think Holocaust education in our schools is DEI? There's no card for that. Just answer. And when she's saying there's no card for that, that's because the woman next to Linda McMahon, the Trump cabinet member, is passing her notes on what to say. Watch this.
Two really quick questions. Do you think that Holocaust education in our schools is a DEI program? There's no card for that. That's just yes or no.
I can look at it, whatever card.
Holocaust education,
Thank
is
you
it a
very
DEI?
much.
You can have a press conference to say whatever you want. I just need a quick answer to
Your
this.
soliloquy
Is
very
Holocaust,
informative.
because this is my time, is Holocaust education a DEI program?
No.
Is African American Studies a DEI
I
program?
think I answered that with one
I'm
of the
asking
other
it again.
callers. Listen, we should
Just
be able,
yes or no?
we should be able to teach
My
courses in their
point is they
entirety.
are DEI programs, both of them, because students need diversity, equity, and inclusion to understand their environments. So both Holocaust education and the teaching of African American history are important, which is why the state of Connecticut requires it in our social studies curriculum. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You can't support one without supporting the other. And looking at what happens in the schools and actually deferring to teachers, parents who are on curriculum committees, local boards of education in states who actually do the hard work
The
and
gentlelady's time
listening
has
to what
expired.
they say
I appreciate
would be
the
incredibly helpful in
passion,
this
but
role.
Next up, you have Democratic Congress member Kassar. Brutal cross-exam of Linda McMahon. Listen up.
Secretary McMahon, thank you for joining us here today. Right now, the administration that you're a part of is pushing for a massive tax break for billionaires paid for by massive cuts to healthcare and food assistance for everyday Americans, including to the children that you're charged with educating. You yourself and your family, as a billionaire family of wealth of about $3.2 billion, can you share with us, do you know how much you and your family will receive in tax benefit if this Republican tax proposal gets pushed through?
No, I've not sat down and worked with my accountants on what tax. I can tell you most
You have
of
a
the
general,
time-
a general sense?
Well, I
Is
can
it
tell you
millions
the
or
last time
tens of millions?
taxes went through, I paid more.
And so you think that under this proposal, you will not, like the other billionaires, get millions or tens of millions of dollars in tax benefit?
I think this is kind of a ridiculous line of
No, it's
questioning.
not ridiculous, because here's what's important. The biggest bill being pushed by your administration for your average extremely wealthy person would give about a $4 million benefit. Your family is worth about $3.2 billion. So I imagine that you'd get millions of dollars in benefit from this tax bill. Does that make sense? Does that check out?
I don't know. I'd have to let you know.
Let's just
ask the member
Chairman,
how this refers to
read my
education.
question.
Then you have Congress member Ansari. Let's play this clip.
When it comes to vouchers, would you say that you support taxpayers subsidizing wealthy students' tuition at expense of private schools?
I think that, again, these are issues within the states, to look at.
It's a yes or
And
no.
No, there's a school
Do you
choice
support
issue.
the subsidizing for wealthy students?
There are issues within states that they should look at.
Okay, that sounds like a yes.
Back to Democratic Congress member Kassar.
So I'll ask you, do you think it's right for kids to not have food to eat at home before they go to class in order to make sure that a billionaire that doesn't even know how many more millions of dollars they're going to get could just get a few million more?
I want to make sure that as the Secretary of the Department of Education, that the president's plan to make school choice available to every student in our country is what we follow.
And the president's plan specifically takes money away from those kids, specifically takes food away from those families, specifically takes money and sends it to big contractors, big companies, and sends millions of dollars to billionaires like you who don't even know how many extra millions of dollars they're going to get.
Another clip of Democratic Congress member Kassar.
So, okay, look, there are families watching at home from my district that could lose their health care. And they want to know why their health care would get taken away. And what it's paying for is overwhelmingly tax cuts for the wealthiest people in the country. And so what would you spend the $4 million on that you would get a benefit of at least $4
Let's
million.
get to your educational line of questioning.
What would those
that we deal
families,
with in this committee?
what would those families who lose their health care, who are watching, what would you spend the $4 million on that's worth more than their health care?
I'm not going to address the questions relative to me personally. I'm here as the Secretary of Education, and I'm
Okay, so
happy
as the Secretary
to
of
answer the
Education,
questions
then,
relative to education.
as the Secretary of Education, do you think, yes or no, that kids will do better off in school if they have health care and their food needs met? Yes or no?
We all do better, and children will do better in school if their health needs are met. I agree with that.
Good. And so I guess for those kids, which there's going to be hundreds of thousands or millions of kids that lose their health care, how is it okay that they're going to lose their health care so that billionaires and billionaire families, I'm not just even picking just on you, but billionaire families like your own, can get a tax break? What, if you don't even know how many millions of dollars it is you'd get, how is that worth it?
I'm not going to respond to your question.
I think the answer is because it's not worth it. It's not. If you got 3.2 billion or 5 billion or $10 billion,
going off the premise that there's going to be health care that is going to be removed from these children, I'm not sure that is a correct premise. So
every single organization that's looked at this bill knows that millions of people will lose their health care. The latest estimate is at least 11 million people and families, because you wouldn't get the enormous savings that the Republican majority on this committee is looking for unless you kick those millions of people off of their health care. So how can we educate our kids if they don't have a roof over their heads, if they can't see a doctor, if they don't have food assistance?
Democratic Congress member Pocan.
Project 2025. You're one of the authors. You're on the advisory board. You work for Heritage. You're basically January, February, and March in a Project 2025 calendar, right? But you were asked this weekend about it, and you said, no, the administration isn't following Project 2025. So I'll go through lightning rounds since I only have 2 minutes. Just tell me coincidence or not. In the Project 25, abolishing Department of Education, you guys are doing that. Is that a coincidence?
The president's view.
Coincidence or
agenda,
not?
The president's
coincidence or not? That's all you got to ask.
Agenda
Okay, I'll go through the rest. Any diversity, equity, and inclusion?
The president's agenda is
Shifting FEMA costs to the states.
The
Targeting
president designs his
PBS and the
agenda.
National Public Radio.
President
Freezing
designs.
federal assistance. Restricting gender-affirming care. Revoking security clearances. Stripping civil servants of employment protections, reinstating service members who refuse COVID-19 vaccines, banning transgender people from the military, a hiring freeze, withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sending active duty troops to the southern border, limiting refugee admissions, rescinding temporary protected status designations, capping indirect costs for university-based research, requiring disclosures of foreign gifts to universities, apparently not planes or presidents, asserting the president's power to remove federal officials, and targeting NOAA. Were those all just coincidences that they happened to be in Project 25 and they were just in the back pocket of the president since November?
The president has never been more of a promises made, promises kept president than we've ever had in history. He has run on an agenda. He was very clear on that agenda. He's now enacting that agenda. And those of us who work for him work for his agenda in executing that agenda.
Democratic Congresswoman DeLauro.
Would you recommit yourself to the truth, engaging with this committee, the American people, and the American people based on the respect for history as it actually has occurred?
We haven't impounded any money. We're under programmatic review of federal dollars across
You
the
have impounded money, $425 billion.
We don't know where that number came from other than
I'll
you,
tell you,
Congresswoman.
look at the tracker. We're following it very closely. And I would just say this, if people don't really want to appropriate and hold on to the power of the purse, then my suggestion is find another committee to sit on. Our responsibility is to make sure that we maintain that power of the purse and that what we say has got to be congressionally spent needs to be. And you do have a premise that in that bill, in the Empowerment Control Act, that allows you to come up with a rescission package. But what is at stake is the illegality of what you have done with impounding and stealing funds from the American public and the unbelievable consequences it will have on their lives and their families lives.
Congressman, there's nothing.
The chair now recognizes Ms. Hinson.
Thank you.
Back to Congressmember Pocan.
CBO disagrees with your analysis. Yale and Penn said 13.7 million people will lose health insurance. You also said this won't increase the debt. Is that correct? The
It will not increase the debt. It will lead to
So
reduced
there, the
deficits.
Cato
and-
Institute disagrees with you. Moody's disagrees. The CBO disagrees. Senator Hawley and Senator Rand and Senator Collins disagree. Elon Musk disagrees. Virtually everyone on this side of the aisle. So you're saying everyone is wrong, but you are the right one, that this does not increase the debt?
I'm saying that all the watchdogs, including the Congressional Budget Office, use a skewed vision of a view of what the baseline is.
They were
The
less than a few percent wrong last time on your tax bill when they predicted it almost dead on. So you're saying this time there's significant changes and they don't know what's going on and only you do. Is that correct?
I'm stating that they use a
So
baseline.
you disagree with the Cato Institute
Yes,
and Moody's
yes.
and Senator Hawley?
Senator Hawley has a view as to the Medicaid programs that we are working with to articulate why we believe that these reforms do not hurt the beneficiaries that are involved.
Back to the same Congressmember Pocan.
Going to make somewhere between 11 and 16 million people lose their health care. I know you said on a Sunday morning show, no one will lose coverage as a result of this bill. Is that still your standing?
Which one of those would you like me to take?
The one I just asked. I'll ask it again. I'm sorry if I
The
wasn't
bill does
clear.
not lead to less coverage for Medicaid beneficiaries. It has improper
Okay,
payments,
so
and it leads to the fact that people who are ineligible because they're illegal aliens or because
illegal
they are
aliens
unwilling
do
to
not
work.
get federal dollars for Medicaid, correct?
That's not true. They get them in many different states, including California.
Federal dollars?
Federal dollars
They
using
get state
provider.
dollars. State can provide it. Are there any federal dollars?
Congressman,
How many
because
federal
of-
dollars then, since
Congressman,
you're
be-
the expert, how many federal
Congressman,
dollars go
because
to
of-
funding illegal aliens getting Medicaid?
Congressman, because of the
It's
money
a question,
laundering.
it's a number. It's a question, it's a number. How many dollars go to illegal aliens, federal dollars for Medicaid? It's a simple
Congressman,
question.
It is not actually a simple question because
All
Congress.
your secretaries have a hard time with simple questions lately. I got to tell you, it is
Don't
a simple.
pose simple
But you were saying that that's true. So we will, if you can get back to us with that amount, how's that sound? How much federal dollars? are
I'm
going
happy to get back to you about how the bill
Great.
works and getting rid of the money laundering
So
schemes.
a
that
lot of
state
people
use.
disagree with you.
It is brutal on, he's cross-examining Russell Vogt, the head of Project 2025. Watch this.
You support the efforts of DOGE, I understand. Is the federal government currently spending less this year than it did last year?
No, it's not.
Right. And part of that is because you've sent us a rescission package worth $9 billion that goes after Big Bird and Cookie Monster, but you've added $200 billion to defense and homeland security. You've also, the bill that you just said the White House supports is going to add, depending who you talk to, $2.4 trillion to $5 trillion to the national debt. It's going to make somewhere between 11 and 16 million people lose their health care.
Here's another clip of it.
I think you said the president supports the big bill that was passed out of the House, correct? I think you also said the president does not support cutting Medicare.
Correct.
Okay, so in the bill, there's a $500 billion cut that gets triggered to Medicare. So I know a number of the people who voted for the bill are starting to read it now and finding there's parts they don't like. You might want to take a look at that provision.
As you know,
that's okay. That's okay. I only have
You don't want the
5 minutes.
explanation? Okay.
I didn't ask you the question, did I? I'm asking you a question, though. Since we didn't have your remarks this morning, I think we got them this afternoon.
Let me show you one more clip of that.
You support the efforts of DOGE. You mentioned Steve Davis, and I know we talked about trying to bring the director of DOGE in here, and that would be very helpful. Problem is, I just read he's also leaving with Elon Musk. So who's in charge of DOGE? If the guy who is taking over after Elon Musk, who just left, and he's leaving, it sounds like this is a bit of a circus. Who's in charge of DOGE?
The cabinet agencies that are in charge of the DOGE consultants that work for them are fundamentally in control of DOGE.
Oh, that's an answer only a mother could love. All right.
Back to Democratic Congressmember Kassar.
I represent Texas. I have longstanding ties to the city of El Paso, where in 2019, 23 people were murdered at a Walmart. The murderer said, quote, it was based on the Hispanic invasion of Texas. And after the shooting, Mr. Krikorian, you said that the manifesto was, quote, remarkably well written. Can you tell us which part of his manifesto was remarkably well written?
What I meant by that was that it seemed improbable for a nutcase like that to have written something that was relatively, at least grammatically correct. That was my point.
Look, folks here on this committee are trying to shut down nonprofits because they disagree with them. You're a nonprofit, and you, sir, saying that the El Paso shooter had a manifesto.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Extreme,
the gentleman's
and what goes around comes around.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Chairwoman, okay.
I now recognize Mr. Jack from Georgia for 5 minutes.
I just want to make clear
Thank you,
that what
Madam
goes
Chair.
around can come around.
And then I love this. Democratic Congressmember Jared Moskowitz saying apparently the new FEMA administrator doesn't know about hurricane seasons. Play this clip.
Certainly, we've not made FEMA more efficient. The administrator apparently doesn't know there's a hurricane season. Wait till he finds out there's 5 categories. We're going to blow his mind.
Here's Congressmember Moskowitz again.
Here are the wins for congressional Republicans. You ready? They're going to do a $9 billion rescission bill, okay, which they're going to get rid of Elmo, which the American people were clamoring for, okay, but they're going to add $2.4 trillion to the debt, $9 billion versus $2.4 trillion. And then they want us to cheer for them and give them a trophy like they're a 5-year-old at a soccer game. Everyone gets a trophy for their participation. Okay, by the way, these things I'm bringing up, Republicans themselves, including the chairwoman, have expressed their frustration that Congress has not codified anything at all.
It's another clip of Congressmember Moskowitz.
And by the way, now that the national divorce is happening with Elon Musk, and I'm a child of divorce, okay? I mean, who's going to get big balls? I'm worried about him in the divorce. The children always get caught in the middle, right? And so I just... if he's out there, I just want him to know we're rooting for him.
And finally, we have Democratic Congressmember McBath. Watch this.
On February 10th, you canceled the Charting My Path for Student Success program that served over 1,600 disabled students and their families across 62 schools in 11 states, including Paulding County, which is in my home state of Georgia. This year-round program provided support services and frequent small group sessions to ensure that physically disabled students or students with dyslexia, autism, and other disabilities, as well as their families, can meet their goals of transitioning to and succeeding in adulthood, which is really what every parent wishes for their child. All too often, it's unfortunately a sink or swim situation for disabled students after high school, and programs like this can be the difference between a lifetime on disability insurance versus a good job that they can raise a family on. On this poster right here, you can see the exact email that was sent out to parents in Georgia because of your decision, which I would like to submit digitally for the record. It says the federal funding provided by the Department of Education for this initiative has been discontinued immediately and that your child will no longer receive transition supports. I would like to also submit for the record an article from NPR about a young man named Logan and his mother, Jessie, who were really benefiting from this program before it was abruptly canceled. Secretary, this is just simply a yes or no answer. Do you stand by your decision to cancel this program in the middle of the school year without any warning to the hundreds of students, teachers, and families that were participating?
Well, I would like to explore that more.
Secretary, this is a yes or no answer.
It's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it is. And the American people deserve
I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer because
full answer from you, yes or no. I'm not going to let you circumvent. I'm not going to let you ignore it. Yes or no. It's a simple question.
Well, I'll have to
stand
look
by
into
this
some
decision
of the different programs, and I can't speak to individual grant programs without looking into them exactly. There are a lot of grant programs out there, so I'd like to get back to you.
Note for the record that the secretary is unwilling to answer my question.
Some great cross-exam right there. Let me know what you think. A+, A+. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.